Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this Game Pass game is worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Young Souls. Are you ready to take two ginger punk kids on a goblin slaying journey in the vein of Castle Crashers or Dragon's Crown? Young Souls is released on both Xbox and PC for Game Pass and features cross-save. Additionally, it is available on Steam, PlayStation, Switch, and Google Stadia. I don't know why I felt like I should mention that. On Xbox, it is upgraded for Series S and X for better frame rates, and the game will last you about 8 to 10 hours. So what exactly is Young Souls? Well, it's a 2D beat-em-up game in the style of Castle Crashers, Double Dragon, The Simpsons arcade game, etc., with RPG elements and an emphasis on its difficulty. You play as twins Tristan and Jen, two punk kids whose adoptive father, the professor, made a portal to the goblin dimension that apparently exists under the town. The professor gets grabbed by the gobbos, and it's up to Tristan and Jen to suit up, hit the gym, and murder swarms of basement dwellers on the way to save their pops. The basic gameplay is similar to any standard beat-em-up. Move up and down on a pseudo 3D plane and mash attack until everything is dead. Your kit is actually fairly basic, with only one primary attack that can either be mashed or charged, but as you fight, you'll gain mana, which can then be used for a super attack, which is determined by which weapon you are using. You also have the ability to block and parry, and should you block at the right time, you will stagger an enemy and gain some mana. If you play single player, you have the option to switch between either of the twins at any time, meaning you can kit them differently and use them based on the situation. For example, one of my twins was a super heavy armored two-hander, while the other was a more lightly armored agile dagger wielder. It's worth noting you can also play this entire game in local co-op, which is pretty great. The game's difficulty should be noted, as while normal enemies don't pose too much of a challenge, bosses are generally fairly brutal and can often one or two-shot you if you aren't careful. Thankfully, death's only real punishment is restarting the small dungeon, and the game has not only multiple difficulty options, but tons of accessibility options that could be individually toggled to fit your playstyle. The combat arenas are strings of dungeons that are assigned to a suggested level, with each large area ending in a boss that unlocks the next big dungeon, with 4 big areas to clear in total. As you fight, you'll get a ton of upgradable loot to try, each with their own specific mana abilities to play with, as well as your characters themselves will level up. Leveling also grants you gym tickets, which basically is a set of minigames that will let you determine more specifically how you want your characters to grow. And that's basically it. Fight through multiple zones, earning money, loot, and levels until you save your dad and the world from the goblin menace. So what do I like about Young Souls? Well, I actually really enjoyed the art style in this game quite a bit, with everything feeling really high energy, and the personality of the twins keeping the pace very brisk. Additionally, the core gameplay is satisfying once you find that right difficulty, as it's got a good mix of the old mash murder and cathartic parrying. And lastly, I got really sucked into trying to complete it, with the game's length being pretty much perfect, and being able to play it co-op was additionally a very cool bonus. When it comes to the bad, combat mechanics unfortunately don't seem to facilitate the difficulty the game wants, meaning harder difficulties feel more frustrating than skill-based. Medium for me is just a little too hard, while easy was way too easy. What I personally suggest is turning on block out of any combo and accessibility options and then cranking up the difficulty, as that makes the game much funner and feel fairer. Similarly, combat's general flow is very simple, with only one main attack and an emphasis on being reactive via parries or dodges, and the 2D 3D plane has the usual issue of attacks not lining up when you think they should. And lastly, the limited amount of upgrade materials, especially the ultimate ones, and the weird trickling of weapon availabilities all the way up to the end makes experimentation with weapons seem less plausible, and just sticking with one you find early is much more viable, which is kind of a bummer. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, don't bother. This is a maybe consider, but I also think it is a bit of a hidden gem. Young Souls gets a ton of stuff right, but the stuff it flubbed did put a big damper on my enjoyment. However, if you're willing to put in some time to tweak the difficulty to get it exactly where you like it, there's a lot of both solo and co-op brawler goodness to be had here. With its frenetic style and energy, as well as its mostly solid loot and combat systems, Young Souls is a lot of fun, especially if you bring a friend along for the ride. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this Game Pass game review, and go out there and enjoy Young Souls.